approval of action to sign the Texas Feeding Texan Home Delivery Meals Grant Affidavit. She has patiently waited.
I have, I'm starving to death because I didn't have breakfast. So now I'm hungry.
Well, feel free next time you come to bring breakfast for all of us.
For all of you, I can do that. This is a resolution, signed during the application period, September through November 2021 for the Texas Feeding Texans Grant. Grant by Brown County, certified that the county made a grant to City of Brownwood Senior Citizen Center, an organization that provides home delivered meals to homebound persons in the county who are elderly and or have a disability. This affidavit certifies that the county has successfully issued a grant. They have a copy. Issued the grant payment to the organization in the amount of $77,058 to be used, that was used October 1, 2021 and 3/9/30/2022 as outlined in the original resolution. This affidavit is made that in order to fully close the 2022 home delivered meal grant, and that both the organization and the county agree that the above county grant has been received and used within the term above.
Okay. And so this is just certifying that during that fiscal year, the county received grant payment and then forwarded or whatever back to the City of Brownwood Senior Citizen Center in the amount. Is that right?
Is there something to sign?
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Well, they went, needed to go.
Yeah, so it's may want to make a motion to approve that.
I make a motion to approve.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Y'all need to come and visit. Seriously, y'all do. I'm gonna go run.
We do need to come.
Now,
Now, where is the,
Has it moved?
no, we haven't moved, but we did an expansion.
right, is that finished?
We're very close. So once it is closed, once it's finished, I'm gonna send an invitation down here so then that way all y'all can come and see the expansion that we've done. And I mean, there's no telling how long, if any of y'all have been in there in a very long time. And I invite y'all to go and ride with one of the drivers sometime too. I was telling Joel earlier, y'all give money to this program. I'd really like for y'all to see where it's going and see the need in our community, because it's really huge. So,
Thank you so much.
Is it your organization or
No, that's your idea.
whatever you know, ask Kelly about it? I don't know.
Here, who's supposed to sign that?
Who's the organization?
Well, isn't it, that's you.
Okay, that's us. Okay.
And you'll get the copy?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Consideration and possible approval of a request from Lifeguard to allow them to raise the base rates they charge for services.
Lifeguard. Might I say, this is for clarification, this is the charges they charge to the customer, not to the county at this time.
Correct.
And I think it's
Yes,
a 30%.
Yeah.
And I
It was
will
30%
say
increase.
that during our most recent ambulance meeting last week, this was discussed and we went over and they showed us the rates they're currently charging versus the rates they're proposing to charge. And in particular, as it relates to other locations and the rate they charge customers or patients, I guess, in Brown County has not been changed in a number of years.
I believe our last change 2018.
And so while other counties, they've kept up with increasing costs, they have not in Brown County. And so this does not affect the amount of the subsidy or how much we pay them. This is just where they recoup their expenses.
It was discussed and voted on by the oversight committee, and they were in favor of the allowing to do their increase. So in that respect, if it's all right, I'd like to make the motion that we allow them to make their 30% rate increase.
So it's been moved, second, that we approve the request We approved the request as well as adopted the recommendation of the committee. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye. It's passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of an action regarding authorizing the county judge to sign an agreement with Goldsmith Solutions for Microsoft licensing for email and Microsoft Office applications.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge. Board, Commissioners. This is the PDOT, the packet that we gave this morning. Basically, it starts at the top, it says item G. Basically, currently your Microsoft licensing for email and office applications is purchased through Tax Zero. The current licensing in place, which we've talked about in IT committee meetings and at length outside of the county, needs to change the quantity of licenses being purchased in order to meet the current user needs, fix security issues, and bring the licensing into compliance. Under summary number 1, you see how many licenses you currently have and what your monthly cost is. What we're proposing this morning is that we would change those quantities to bring the licensing into compliance and to deploy the Microsoft Office application across the users who need it. And then the monthly cost difference, you can, the proposed monthly cost is $2,032.83. You're currently paying just under $1,300.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes, sir.
Why are we going, I mean, I understand we need the license to get everybody up proper, so why are we going away from?
So that's the next thing I was going to address, Commissioner. So one, we as your IT vendor, basically your license agreement is with, sure, your license agreement is with Microsoft. You have to have a partner that you purchase it through. And we're responsible for your IT system, and we can make those changes a lot faster and less bureaucracy is how I would put it. But the main difference is there's a cost savings to the county. So there's about a $360 a month cost increase if you change the licensing and bring it into compliance, but you stay with the TAC.
But you're saying that we have a total of 175 with TAC now, you're going to 173.
Correct. So that if you want to compare apples to apples, then it would be another $9.50 per month if you bring it in.
Okay.
So my point would be there's very little oversight with TAC. Now they're an excellent partner when it comes to a lot of things. They've been a good partner when it comes to technology. We work with TAC every day and value that relationship. But ultimately the burden falls to us to make sure that you're compliant and to have oversight of this item. And because there is a cost savings, that's why we're proposing that we would be the registered agent, or what Microsoft calls the partner for licensing. Microsoft pardon me, go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, could you, the 30-second answer to what's the difference between Exchange? Yeah.
Sure.
No, what's the difference between Exchange Online Plan 1 and Business Standard?
Yes, sir. So Exchange Online Plan 1 is an email account only. Office 365 Business Standard is an email account plus all of the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, all of the Office applications. So the people that Brown County has that would just have an email only would typically be, you've got a handful of road hands and then all of your jail staff that they sit in front of a computer that's already has a license, but they just need an email account. Shift-based workers, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So we don't need to buy the full license at a higher cost for every shift-based worker because they're sharing a computer versus having a computer assigned to them.
So how are we getting Word, Excel, PowerPoint?
You're getting it through two different methods. One is some folks on older computers, and I'm talking about 7+ year old computers, they had a license that was purchased when the computer was purchased, and it was just a perpetual license, but that model is going away. And you have people on Office 2007, 2010, and 2013, all of which are not patched, secured, or anything. 2013 becomes end of life, April 12th. So you've got stuff on outdated software. The other reason, which is that the other way that you're getting licenses for users is a compliance issue. You were sharing licenses between users, which is outside the Microsoft agreement, and that presents some copyright and legal issues. One of the examples when we met with the technology committee on Thursday to discuss this and to get feedback, when you share a Microsoft license agreement, Brown County wasn't just sharing them with other people in the same department, they were sharing across departments. And so we were given an example in law enforcement where someone saved a document not knowing that their license was being shared with another user of a much lesser, not the same rank. That person was able to access all the information that was confidential by accident, and they went to their supervisor and said, oh, by the way, I accessed this not knowing what it was because the license was shared, which is not compliant. That's why that happened. So our concern is Ms. Broughton could save something in the county attorney's office and someone in the auditor's office could see it or vice versa. It's not a matter of we have to disclose information through public information requests, but it's a matter of protecting the custodian of that record.
So in the future, when I use Microsoft Word, that top right-hand corner, it's not gonna say Nina anymore?
Correct,
Oh, I'm gonna get my own?
correct. Yep, which that's what the
That's
rules,
exciting.
that's what the rules,
I get my own.
rules say. Yes, sir. And those users who have the full Office package, which is the Office 365 Business Standard, those users can have that license on up to 5 devices that are theirs, not shared with their neighbor or their coworker, but theirs. So for example, if the judge has a desktop and a laptop, he doesn't have to buy a separate license because he has 2 devices. You can have it on up to 5 devices, a mobile device, an iPad, a laptop, a desktop, etc. So we would ask, I think the second page just is basically what would be signed. It basically outlines the summary of the recurring costs. We're waiving the one-time setup fee because we just made this transition with TAC, a different county, and it's a matter of us filling out a piece of paper and they can transfer the partnership agreement over to us. All services will be based on an annual renewal, and that's what I was about to say earlier. Prior to December, I believe, of this past year, you could license these things on a month-to-month basis. So if you all of a sudden get 5 more employees, but they're seasonal, and then you drop them 6 months later, you could go up and down on a monthly basis. Microsoft does not allow that anymore unless you want to pay a 20% increase over these prices in order to have that flexibility, which financially it doesn't make sense. So this would be based on a 1-year agreement. We'll talk about this in the budgeting workshop to make sure it's budgeted for appropriately in the future. And we would be discontinuing the services with Tax Sarah. We will have to remote into each employee's computer and make sure that their license gets swung over to their individual username, but that's something we can send out training on, and then we can work with users that need assistance to do that. Basically, you have to log off and then log back in to get it to update once we make the change. Be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to approve that item about changing the Microsoft licensing.
And also, you to sign, I make a motion, we approve that change.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the licensing change for the Microsoft issues. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. It passes.
Awesome, thank you, sir.
Item H,
Item H, if you flip to the top, it says item H, a .gov domain request. This was also discussed in the IT committee meeting on Thursday. Basically, we're requesting the county approve a letter. Let me make sure I got my words correctly here. Yes, a letter that has to be signed, and we have to have a vote of the Commissioners Court in order to obtain a .gov domain name. So currently, your website, your email is browncountytx.org. And in order to get a .gov, you have to go through the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, which is a part of the Department of Homeland Security with the United States government. Currently, a .gov is registered through those agencies. There is no cost for a .gov domain name, but we do have to have official court action for us to request it. A .gov can only be used by official US government-based agency, whereas a .org, a .com, a .net, anyone can buy. And there's no vetting process for that, whereas .gov has a vetting process. The fourth bullet point there says CISA, which is that cybersecurity group with the federal government, says using a .gov for your online services helps the public quickly identify your website as a trusted government source. This is different from other top-level domains such as .com or .org, where anyone in the world can register for a fee. Malicious actors know this, and they have sought to impersonate election and government organizations by using a non.gov. So I could go register browncountytexas.org, and y'all at browncountytx.org, and I could say, hey, the election's canceled on Tuesday. Come the following Tuesday, and it's going to look legit because someone doesn't pick up that TX versus Texas are two different folks. Where when you see .gov, that means it's an official government website. The election security assessment. Well, one thing that's important to say, and we've been talking to the users and to the technology committee about this, the browncountytx.org will continue to work indefinitely, and it will remain in place, although all county websites and email will eventually be transferred to the .gov. The election security assessment recommended that the county obtain browncountytx.com and browncountytx.net to ensure that a malicious actor cannot put out misinformation acting as if they speak for the county. And we have secured both of those domain names, and they're currently redirecting everyone to browncountytx.org. So meaning if you type in .com by mistake, you're still going to get to Brown County, the official website. If you type in .net by mistake, you're still going to get there. .gov would work the same way in the future. So today we're requesting the court approve the registration and migration to a .gov address. This would allow, and also to allow the county judge to sign any necessary paperwork to officially request browncountytx.gov from CISA and the Department of Homeland Security.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
We just got the email to do the cybersecurity.
Training.
You
Yes,
still have to do it? Is it
Yes.
through TAC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is so that's what Josie's referring to is House Bill 3834 from a few years back. It says if you use a computer more than 25% of your job for the county, you have to take a cybersecurity training class. That's something completely independent of the email system with TAC, and they provide that as a service. We're working with Stephanie Uphold to make sure that we've got an accurate list of all employees. And because some employees use a computer more than 25% of their job, but have never had a Brown County email address, this licensing thing is going to correct that to make sure you're fully compliant across the board. When that first came out, this is the last thing I'll say about it, it was a legal thing that you had to do that training, but there were no ramifications or repercussions if you didn't do it. It is now directly tied to your grant funding. If you don't do it, you get denied for office of or any of the state level grants. So that process will remain the same. We've talked at length with the users about .org is going to continue to work. It's just your login is going to change at some point where you have to put in .gov. They will not have to check two different email boxes. Everything will still come to the same inbox. The only thing we've experienced in other counties that has to change immediately is your TAC list serve, how you get messages from TAC for judicial things or commissioner discussions or county clerk discussions. You have to update that with the .gov. You would still receive it if they don't know that your email address changed, but when you reply, it will deny you replying because it's seen it come from a .gov instead of the .org. So it's like an identity thing. So that's the only major change. There'd be user education, and we don't see changing to the .gov in the next few weeks. This is probably in the next 90 days type thing, but we need to get all the process underway and in place in order to do this.
Well, with all that being said, I move that we allow the county judge to sign an agreement to obtain the .gov domain from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency.
Been moved and
Second.
seconded that we approve that request. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Adobe licensing.
Yes, sir. This is item I. We've actually started moving forward with this because we got some users that couldn't do their job properly without Adobe. Basically, the county has always bought the Adobe license just from adobe.com, just like you could go to as a private citizen and purchase. The cost for that license is, depending on what version you had, was anywhere from $179.88 per year on up to $287.88 per year. We're proposing that we would move officially to an Adobe volume license agreement for government that is purchased from Dell on the DIR contract. It's already gone through a bid process. And you would get the best version of Adobe that costs someone on the street, private citizen, $287.88 per year. Brown County would get that for $92.40 per year per user. So there's a significant cost savings per user. This would be billed annually by Dell. We would request a purchase order for it. Any credits, meaning any prepaid services you already have with Adobe, we're able to get those refunded so that we will be able to claw back some of the money for services that have already been paid for because we're still staying with them. We're just moving to a new license. Currently, we have 25 people who have requested Adobe, some of which already had it, some of which didn't. Ultimately, we believe there will be between 25 and 50 users countywide that will need this either now or in the coming time period. So this is a significant cost reduction and cost savings per user, going from $287.88 on the high end down to $92.40. And that is the highest level of Adobe, which allows your county clerks, all of your people who use e-file, anyone who compiles evidence, they get the full Adobe suite of Adobe Acrobat.
I'm just curious, who are the 25 people who use Adobe?
I don't have a list in front of me, but
All
it's
of
pretty
my
much,
office
All
and
of
all
my
my
sheriff's
sheriff's
office,
What do y'all use it for?
appeals.
Court of Appeals,
What's that?
Court of Criminal Appeals.
Like what? I know, what's that?
You have to go, you have to, in order to send all these volume of papers to the Court of Appeals,
Mhm.
you have to bookmark it and page it, all
So-
that mess.
imagine like you used to have a 3-ring binder and you had those flags on the side of it. You have to do all of that through Adobe. You have to file stamp it like with the stamp that's on the agenda that says, it's been certified.
Index,
And then you have to create an index to where whoever looks at it on the Court of Appeal side, they can click to, item number or whatever, and they click on it and it jumps
Goes right
back to
to
that
it.
page.
make their job easier.
It's an e-file requirement. But also, just in compiling this document, that's before you, this came from probably 20 different files, and we compiled it into one and can print it as one or email it as one. We also see it with accounting, anyone, both treasurer and auditor, that as things, and I'm not commenting on if they want this to happen, but as society moves to more paperless, where everything's imaged and scanned, it allows you to take invoices that come in from 10 different sources and combine them down to, what comes to Commissioner's Court. So it used to be one of those things that only a few people needed, and it's becoming more and more common in the need. Just to be clear, anyone can have Adobe Reader for free, but on Adobe Reader, you can only open the document, read the document, print the document. You can't edit,
Edit,
modify,
yeah.
or do any of these things that Ms. Ferguson is speaking about. Any other questions about that?
Yeah, because we have discovered that when you're e-filing and with the Court of Appeals, well, yeah, we obviously e-file a lot of stuff.
Yes, sir.
And we e-file a lot of appellate stuff. And that's
Well,
yeah, all you have to do is save it as a PDF file. If you have a Word document,
Sure.
you can save it as a PDF file and send it to the Court of Appeals.
Right.
Now, indexing, that's a whole different issue.
Right, and often these are files that are filed in the district or county clerk's office that are
Yeah.
coming from different sources where you don't have a paper document.
Yeah.
I know,
But you have to, see, when you file it with the clerk's office, you have to file a PDF file. You can't send them a Word file
sure,
through e-file.
that's absolutely accurate. Some of what we're seeing is when people request like a land record and they need two different things.
Nobody wants a
Those
tip
are
anymore.
often, right, they don't want a TIFF file anymore, and those often come in a paper format where it did start as electronic, and they have to compile it from several different sources and then send it as one file. And in that file, there's some reasons that you would send that encrypted, or where if it's a password attached, you have to have to where if someone receives it or forwards it, if they don't have a password.
Yeah, and the Board of Appeals wants everything searchable.
Right.
That's their big deal.
Yes,
They want you to send them a searchable file.
Basically, the burden has swung to this end of the court. Whereas a lot of processes, years ago, when I started in county government, you could fax things to different agencies and all, and et cetera. Now, they make you submit it electronically, they make you submit it through their website, they make you submit it in the format they want, searchable, et cetera, because they don't have to have the clerical format in.
But I mean, if I was them, I would do the same thing.
Yes, sir.
So that's not, I can't fault them.
Right, and it makes sense from an efficiency standpoint.
All right, so tell me how this works. I mean, do you have to have a specific number? Do you have to tell Dell, we want 25 licenses?
So we have to, in full disclosure, we've already purchased some licenses because it was a cost savings, and this is currently coming out of different people's individual budgets, and they said, yes, move forward. In the next fiscal year, we want to budget for this as an IT item, and so that's one of the reasons we're bringing it to you. We have to purchase a minimum of 5, and then we can do it on a one-by-one basis after that. And so I can't tell you today, because I'm not the person who manages this on our team, but we purchased more than 5, but we purchased 5 because we knew you had users paying anywhere from 180 to 288.
I mean,
There's
I guess,
11, we're paying for 11 today.
I guess what the question, my question is, okay, you buy 20 licenses, okay, and they're spread out. And then next week, I'm working on a specific project that I need Adobe.
Right.
And I may only use it once a year.
Right. We are allowed to, what we typically do is we usually have a buffer of 1 or 2 that we have at all times that for those type cases, because again, it's cheaper on this government contract than it is to go out and do it
Yeah.
individually. We can assign those licenses to whomever need them. So like if we have 1 spare at all times and you come up and you say something, we basically just have to go into your email login and say, allow them Adobe license, because we have the email login and the Adobe login paired where you don't have to have a whole another password. But we're allowed to assign those, activate those and deactivate those on a per user basis. And Adobe, when they're assigned to you, just like I said, Microsoft, you can have it on up to 5 devices. Adobe, you can have it on up to 2 devices. So often I have one on my desktop and my laptop, but if I sit down in a conference room in a county and I need Adobe, I just sign in as me and it deactivates one of the others. And then when I get back to my desktop, I just sign back in as me and it takes it off. So you're allowed to kind of self-manage that as an individual as well.
Any questions?
I'm ready to
I'll
call the
make a
vote.
motion.
Make a motion, we approve that purchase.
It's more than I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been moved and seconded that we approve that.
I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Mr. Worley.
Okay.
And any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? No. There's none.
Okay, well, I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that, but those were the easy items.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next one. If you're good.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, this is item J. This has been discussed in IT committee meeting. This has been discussed with a couple of commissioners along the way that were in the IT committee meeting. Basically, we have current projects that require a baseline of supplies to be kept in inventory. By standardizing the IT deployments, it's going to allow us to have a more stable environment and streamline support. We're asking the court to allow us to purchase the items we need to support IT. And by purchasing those in advance, we avoid delays, meaning we can't get parts and cables and connectors in Brownwood, much less Abilene. A lot of things that we deal with, we're either having to ship in or we're having to, if the county gotten into a bind where we need this one connector, you'd have to drive to Dallas to pick it up and it might not be $5. So there are very few items that can be procured locally, and I'm talking about cables, connectors, scanners, etc. So we're asking for this IT baseline of supplies to be approved. There's a spreadsheet that outlines a lot of its batteries, like all different types of individual batteries that we need for different devices in y'all's environment. cleaning supplies, electrical supplies, installation supplies, office supplies, organization supplies like racks and bins and whatnot to organize all this. Storage bins, every different kind of tape you can imagine. And believe it or not, there more thought went into this than went into the licensing discussion, because we know every part and connector we need, and so, or that we have used, and so that's where this list came from. There are some tools included like carts, ladders, trying to look, see what else stands out to me here. And then there are a bunch of network type cables. You would not think that all that equals the amount before you, which is $19,617.02. But when you look at just the extension cords and surge strips that we need are probably $2,000. If you add all these line items up, it just adds up with the amount of users and computers you'll have to support. Basically, how we handle this at other counties is we have a parts depot, so to speak, of all of these things that we need to support your IT infrastructure. And then when something gets used and it gets, like if we have quantity 10 and it gets down to quantity 4, we reorder so that we always have spare keyboards, spare batteries, spare cables, spare whatever. And this has served us well, because then we can have it in the past with other customers, because then every person has the same brand of everything. So when we have a problem, we know how to fix it. Or if we don't have a cable that's made in China, and then one that we bought at Walmart, then one's the one we recommend. It's just all standardized across the environment. This is something that there's one other item before you today that we'll talk about in a moment, but if you want to discuss funding, some of these things are consumables where you're not going to have them in 3 or 4 years. Some of them you'll have for 20 years, like ladders and storage bins and et cetera. One thing that we've been working on at length is trying to figure out where do we store IT supplies, and how do we track that and account for that to know where they went or where they were used. After visiting your county agent building, I want to visit with you, Judge, outside of this meeting about if we can work with them, because that building was Lone Star Gas back in the day, and it has like a full warehouse in the back of it, and a lot of that is just junk that they've said that they want to get rid of, but they don't know how to get rid of. A lot of it's technology junk that we're helping them get rid of. So I think it has a full garage door, it has a full gate, to where a truck could pull up and it's secure. We could even put a camera over there for security reasons. But I haven't visited with them about it. I literally just thought about this this weekend, but I think that would be where these storage bins and the long-term supplies can be until more space becomes available. But I think that makes a lot of sense. So back to the funding, just the question. My point of saying that is, I know you've talked about certain capital expenditures coming out of ARPA. This is part capital expenditure and part just consumable, so that's above my pay grade to tell you where you pay for it out of. The following item, which is more IT equipment, that's long-term stuff, is definitely capital expenditure, but that's the next agenda item, which is K.
Yeah, and I think that we need to sometime, I think we probably need to schedule a workshop to talk about IT expenditures.
Yes, sir.
I know this is not what you're here today for, but I mean, we just need to have a workshop, because we need to do a budget amendment for the current year,
Yes, sir.
and to figure out where this is coming from and where it's going to come from, and work on a budget for now through the end of the fiscal year, and then tackle some of the bigger issues at budget time. And it's a little bit haphazard right now.
Right.
And so we need to kind of nail that down and figure out where we're at and how much more we're going to be spending.
Well, if you wouldn't mind, I want to speak to that. You're absolutely right. We're still in the triage mode. We've made significant improvements. We met with IT committee on Thursday and got feedback, and that went very well. There were only 1 or 2 things that were brought up that needed to be addressed, and it's more informational. This will allow us to deal with the triage mode, and also get everything in place that when we start replacing stuff, which is a future conversation, we've got kind of the baseline supplies. I do not foresee, and I know that you're gonna hold me to this, and that's perfectly fine. I do not foresee bringing you back a major change licensing or any kind of expenditure of this magnitude after today until we have that budget workshop. Y'all bought the computers in December, and we're using those as when we have problems. This will give us the supplies to correct issues. But the next step, as I see it, is exactly what Judge Britton just outlined. We need to sit down and talk about a roadmap of the major capital expenditures, which is going to be computer replacement across the board, server replacement across the board, probably network across the board. And come up with budgetary numbers for that so that we can get feedback from the court on, yes, we want to accomplish this, under ARPA, or we want to accomplish this in the current fiscal year or the next fiscal year, et cetera. And those will be budgetary numbers. Then we will go to Dell and build that package and say, if we purchase all this at once, what's the best price you can give us based on the DIR contract and then based on our volume purchase, meaning like the more we buy at once, the more discount we can get. This is still just kind of I wouldn't even say a stopgap measure, but just trying to lay the groundwork. Well, it's going to help that process also. But this is laying the groundwork to where we have everything in inventory that we need. We've got everything organized, and once we start purchasing or replacing computers, we're not having to borrow parts. Right now I went and asked for AA batteries the other day, and they had those in the auditor's office, but we don't have any kind of baseline supplies in IT, and so that's what this is trying to establish. Sorry, I'll stop talking.
Anytime you have all stuff working, you gotta have a part, man.
You did.
It's worse, you live
So
miles out.
For today, item J, we need to authorize Goldsmith Solutions to order IT supplies at $19,617.02.
Yes, sir. And that you'll be billed the direct cost for these things. We built in just an estimated shipping if we have any shipping charges. But again, we won't exceed that number, and I hopefully the shipping will be less than that. So that's what we're asking for.
So I move we approve these purchases and to use ARP funds for it.
So it's been moved and seconded that we,
Larry, she was asking who seconded it, I'm sorry.
so it's been moved and seconded that we approve the purchase of baseline of supplies for $19,617.02. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. And then there's still more.
Two more. This one, when we pass this one, the last one should be very easy. This is kind of the similar philosophy as the IT supplies, but this is more of equipment. This is definitely capital expenditure. Basically, just like y'all bought computers and things in December, this would be purchasing some equipment that we need to finish those installs out and go ahead and request that we have some things in inventory that we know will be needed both now and in the future. We're trying to have spares on hand of things. We're currently trying to stabilize the network, which we've made great improvement on that, but we need a few additional items to make that happen. This also adds a TV on a cart where we can roll it through the courthouse and use it for meetings such as any of the courtrooms that don't have video capability, both here in Commissioners Court, budget workshops, and just IT committee meetings. I didn't realize until we started trying to have these meetings and I was trying to show a presentation, I was holding my laptop up to show the presentation because only the district court has a television in it. So we're going to basically put a TV on a cart that would allow us to do that. So this includes that TV on a cart. This includes some spare cables that we need for that TV and audio video setup. This includes 5 document scanners. We think that long-term, in that more capital expenditure, longer conversation, that the county would need 30 to 40 of these. These are the document scanners you see on all the clerks' desks. anyone who does e-file, law enforcement. So we're just proposing we go ahead and purchase 5 of those, that we have some spares on hand. That's the newest model that just came out and is compatible with your software system. So there's no concern over, that technology changing in the next year or even the next 5 years. This adds a couple of smaller racks that we need to do some cleanup of network in the elevator room and in the law enforcement, what we're calling processing, where they book people in. And this adds, we were going ahead and purchasing on a Dell contract, 20 monitors. If you recall, we purchased 15 all-in-one computers, and typically those are deployed with a secondary monitor at the same time. We didn't purchase those back in December because we were just trying to, have a fail-safe if something crashed. We're going ahead and requesting that we purchase those now. We've started rolling those out, specifically county clerk computers that were dying and district clerk computers that were dying. And so having that secondary monitor helps those ladies be able to look at what they're doing and what they're data entering at the same time. And the secondary monitor is very common in today's world. Anytime you go into a bank or anyone deals with data processing. So this is a total cost. These are all on CDW, Dell, and then very minor on Amazon. So most of this is covered under either DIR or TIPS. With CDW does DIR and TIPS. And this is a total cost of $25,478.08. This is definitely capital expenditure. Most of these items would have a 5 to 10 year life expectancy.
Now, what is that APC 1500 VA Smart UPS?
That is, so if you remember last commission report, we bought like the little battery backups that go on an individual computer. This is what goes on like a network rack. And so these would be located in the elevator room, and then some of these processing areas. Basically, it's a higher quality one. These are lithium ion. So Commissioner Kelton asked if the smaller, more inexpensive batteries are lead acid, like what we put on an individual computer. These are lithium ion, which have an 8 to 10 year life expectancy versus 3 to 5. And when it says they're smart, if they have a problem or if they see power drop or they see power come in that's bad or too much or too little, it triggers alerts to us, where the others are kind of just a dumb device that they try to handle it. Why we put these on network devices, specifically racks, is so that we know there's a problem before you know that there's a problem. And it's also helped us to where if Encore is sending the county too much power or too little power, which you'd be surprised at how often that happens, this documents it so that if you have to file a claim against them or file insurance, you know exactly what happened when. That's not the primary use of them, but they're to ensure that things stay up when the power goes down. Other questions about these items?
I mean, what's your opinion on having a rolling around a TV on a cart versus a projector?
I am adamantly opposed to projectors because of the technology is going away. The video quality of them are less. The bulb is typically expensive. You don't know that it's going to fail until you turn it on, because when it gets hot, cold, the bulb goes out. I just don't think projectors are long for this world unless you're in a massive stadium, buying some $250,000 projector. So that's my thought on it. A TV on the cart is high definition, which is 1080, or even this would probably be 4K, meaning that the quality of it is much higher, the brightness level of it. That's a lot of the issue with the projector. If we put a projector on this wall right now, you're going to be able to see some, but not all, unless you turn all the lights out. Where if you have a TV on the cart, that's going to be bright and crisp, where you can see it
In the district.
in the district courtroom. Yes, sir. So this, ultimately, we want to address, and this is more of a long-term, because you have more short-term needs that are more important. We want to address the audio video in every courtroom. We want to address the permanent TV installed in courtrooms. I know the judge and I visited about that, and that question's even been asked this morning. This is a cheaper option that we can deal with, more immediate, and then you can just put it on the elevator wherever you need it to go. So it's not like the old school, like when I was in elementary school where it just sits on the cart, it's mounted to it, so if you roll it down the hall, it can't physically fall off. And it's kind of low profile. So this would be set up where if you walk into your laptop, you could plug into it. If you needed to pull up YouTube or something to show a video, you could access it.
A good example would be the lady this morning.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if we had a TV on a cart, she could just plug her laptop into the HDMI connector and not have to know what the Wi-Fi password or any of that is. She can just plug in and then just click through her presentation. The budget workshop, that's typically how we do a lot of things, because it allows you as the court to say, well, what if we only replaced half of this now and half of it next year? We can just have the Excel spreadsheet pulled up, change the quantities, it triggers throughout the document of labor and expense and everything, and helps you make a more informed decision.
All right. Item K, I move that we approve Goldsmith to purchase IT equipment in the amount of $25,478.08, again with ARP money.
And this will be paid for directly by the county, meaning like the invoices will come from CDW and Dell.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the purchase of the listed IT equipment. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Last one, we'll get out of here. Item L is IT recycling. Basically, we've made major efforts over the last 2 weeks to clear out technology items that are no longer serving a purpose. We've gathered over 275 items, and that box truck the county owns is full all the way to the back of it, full of IT recycling that have been removed from the courthouse, law enforcement center, and veterans building. Numerous items that were removed were found still powered on and presented a fire hazard, meaning we had boxes of toilet paper piled in front of electronics that put out heat that weren't even serving a purpose. So those have been removed. Some technology items have been found stacked in offices for 10 to 15 years. We had users that had piles of computers underneath their desks where they couldn't even get underneath their desk. These items have no value really, and we're recommending they be recycled. They'll be recycled through what's called the Dell Reconnect program, which is a partnership with Goodwill Industries. Basically, Dell computer, they don't care if it's a Dell brand or not. They pay Goodwill to hire employees. They sort it out into plastic, metal, and electronics, and then all that goes into the recycling system. The hard drives from any of these devices that contain data have been removed, and the hard drives have been stored for now, and there will be an approval for the destruction of those hard drives at a future date. There's no real cost for this other than just the fuel for that box truck for us to have it delivered to Abilene round trip. On the subsequent pages, we've included an itemized detail of everything, including all the asset tag numbers. And we would ask that these items be considered for recycling, and which will trigger them being removed from inventory. The last 2 pages show you a breakdown by device and the quantities. And then the last page shows you the asset tags, which is what we've been working with the auditor's office on, that will be removed from your inventory system.
Are y'all satisfied on the asset tags that we, pretty much everything was yes to you?
And some of these things did not have, the reason you've got a certain number of asset tags, but you don't, there's not 275 asset tags, is a lot of them didn't have an asset tag at all, either because they were low value or because they were so old that that was prior to the county implementing the system.
I'll make a motion to clear these items, I guess, or have to declare them surplus and put them up for recycling, whatever we need to do. How we need to word that, Judge?
They don't need to be surplus.
You're making a motion to throw these things away.
That's what I'm trying to do. Let's dispose of this.
Scrap condemn them.
IT recycling.
Recycling.
Technically, the motion is that the list of items will be recycled through the Dell Connect program. They will be delivered to that program in Abilene.
Well, we used to have to I mean, maybe you said first declare surplus and do that two different items, is that not, that's redundant, but
Every county does that different, so I don't know how to do it because there's different.
I mean,
If we were going to attempt to sell these items, like on gov deals, that'd be a different process.
Okay.
This is just
Anyway.
giving someone the approval to haul our junk off.
I made that motion, yeah, that one.
That was, it's been moved and seconded that we approve that request. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. None opposed?
Thank you all so much for your time. I appreciate it. We'll get you the signature.
Judge, there's only one signature for you here.
Do you want these down? Or-
Oh, I can do it. Yeah, I saw that in the packet and I didn't know if there was some official somewhere.
That's the only one that we need. Do you want to just use, do you want to just scan it?
Go ahead and do him.
M is the, open bids for the county bank depository agreement. And you have the ceremonial,
Well, there's three packets, it says, it says one of three, and they're different thicknesses. So, I'm not sure what that is, so there's three packets here.
One's from Texas Bank, one's from.
No, there's
within,
there's three packets in the Citizens National Bank, and they're not the same thickness, so they're not just,
well, let's open them and look.
that's what I'm gonna say. So I'm just trying to tell you, they're not triple, it's not just triplets. It's something that needs to sound different. Let me try again with hook out there. Good idea. All right. We're opening Citizens National Bank, packet one of three, and it is.
I think that we're gonna have to take some more time to compare. So if we'll just open them and then,
Yeah, what I'm
we're
gonna
not
do
gonna
is,
accept either one at this time.
what I'm gonna do is read, is there just two?
So there's two different bids.
Right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the cover letter of each, as we open them. The first is from Citizens National Bank dated March 31st. Addressed to me, Citizens National Bank is very appreciative for the opportunity of bidding on the County of Brown banking services. The contract period will be for 4 years, ending 60 days from the time fixed by law for the next selection of the depository. As stated in the bid packet, the evaluation process for depository bank, Citizens National Bank states its positions and comments on the following, and then there's a list of things that they have commented on. And then it's also, there is a list of the following items as requested per the bid. And they've listed those 7 items. I hope you find the submitted bid complete and competitive in today's rate market. Citizens National Bank has been providing banking services for the past 89 years. We take great pride in the professionalism of our staff and the service of our customers have come to expect. We welcome the opportunity to be awarded the bid for Brown County. Should you need any additional information, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Jesse Mendoza, Senior Vice President and Chief Operations Officer, Citizens National Bank.
And their packet two looks to be a performance report.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the next two packets are the items they've listed that they have provided to us.
These are financial examination reports. Looks like those are probably just the qualifications, I would say, for lack of a better word.
Is all that public record?
It will be.
Will be, all of it?
First, there's two packets from Texas Bank.
Are those numbers volumes?
Didn't say volume 1 or 2. This one's called a copy of primary depository bank service application.
Here's your cover letter.
Yeah, here's the second, that's a copy, just, yeah. Okay, so the
They
second,
have different headings.
the second bid proposal is from Texas Bank. March 30th, 2023, Brown County Judge, dear Mr. Britton, Texas Bank is pleased to have the opportunity to bid on the county's depository for the coming term. We service many other public entities and feel we can provide all services requested, plus others that can help the county operate smoothly. Any loans funded during the depository period would be negotiated at the time of the request. The bank would reserve the right to review each loan request on its individual merits, and further reserve the right to not fund certain loan requests. Interest paid on demand and time deposits are described in the bid specification documents. Texas Bank, again, would like to thank you and the commissioners for the opportunity to provide financial services to the county. Please feel free to call me at any time and I will provide any additional information you might need. Respectfully, Tim Espinoza, President, Brown County Market, Texas Bank. I believe that Commissioner Worley is correct that we need to probably appoint
Treasurer and the auditor's office.
we need to appoint a group, a work group, a subcommittee that includes two commissioners, the auditor and the treasurer and the county attorney to review these and report back. Do we have a volunteer from commissioners?
He's on
Let me
our
say, right now, that I have filed a conflict of interest before with Texas Bank, but that conflict has now been resolved. So I no longer have a conflict with Texas Bank. So I'll be glad to be one of the commissioners.
So how about Mr. Yes,
This is very time sensitive, has to go, there's a certain amount of time, it has to go into effect June 1st.
right.
So,
And I was fixing to talk about the Commissioner Trawick and Commissioner Worley. Would you want them to be on there? Okay. So it would be the 5 county auditor, county treasurer, county attorney, and 2 commissioners will meet to review these bids. I would think that it would be prudent for the committee to report back on April the 17th, which is 2 weeks from today. Unless you're gonna be on vacation between now and then. Not going on your monthly vacation this month. And so we're gonna have another big meeting on April the 17th. And so,
Does our conference start the 24th? Okay, so we're good there.
yeah, so I think that's 2 weeks. to
Yeah,
get-
that's fine.
To review these.
Judge, could you give us a brief overview of the most important, the highlights of those bids? Like interest rates on DDAs or loans?
If I could, yeah, it is, if I was smart enough to know where they were.
Well, you mentioned 7 points there, didn't you, on our bids?
Yes,
Those would be probably what you're gonna make your decision on. Mainly interest rates on checking accounts.
Yeah.
and Interest rates on loans, or interest rate on different deposits.
if I can find them, I certainly will.
They didn't just pop out at me when I looked at it either. It wasn't. Yeah. I know. Fortunately, I said, no, I was on the bottom because it was sealed.
Yeah. Seal.
Well, I would love to. I'm not.
They're probably on a couple thousand each pages, and I didn't see it right there on the surface when I looked at it.
Okay. Make sure I'm comparing apples and apples.
Do you want to let, maybe Anderson look, or one of them look through that while we can?
No, it should be right. It should be right here.
That's a sealed bid.
How about if I give
Doesn't say
you,
who it
make
is.
you a copy of the two, basically, I don't know what they're called, fund, rate sheets? Would that be okay?
Just a copy of the other bid of the citizens would be fine with me. I mean, that's all one I need. Is it Texas Bank?
Yes.
Yeah, just one of Texas Bank for me. is all I
Okay.
need.
Yeah, he already knows what citizens
I
do.
hope he does.
Well,
Actually, I don't, but I can.
Oh,
find
yeah.
out.
He doesn't, but he knows where to go to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start stacking some stuff here.
If someone could go make him a copy of.
Some of these copy machines around here takes a degree in electronics to figure out how to work them.
Because I'm sure there's just thousands and thousands of people watching us online right now.
Yeah.
There's 3 people watching us
They
online.
can't hear, so.
Yeah, and
They
so,
can't hear.
and obviously, when you're considering considering a bid for a depository agreement, the kind of the meat and the potatoes is about 3 pages.
Yeah, one page probably.
Yeah, and then, so all of this, for instance, this is Texas Bank's bid. you know, that's the bid. And really, the juicy part, like you said, is a page or two. And then the rest of it is, you know, different kinds of, well, different kinds of analysis of their strengths and references and all. And so you want to know the juicy part, right? I'm assuming.
Exactly.
We'll get you copies.
Thank you so much.
Before you leave. We'll either get you copies or let you sit here and look through the whole thing if you want.
Let me read it to you.
Yeah, maybe.
Will I get it after April 17th?
That's your choice.
Yes.
You can get it today if you want it.
I can
That's
make
just,
my
you're
copies.
just dying to get it.
Well, I just don't want to.
Well, you don't need to make 1,000 pages of copy if you don't
I'm
need
going to
to.
scan every inch of
You have to scan every inch of that.
it.
Because it's an
See, that's why she needs Adobe.
There you go.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got a lot of bids, quite a few bids to open today.
I bet I can read these.
And so your next up is the bid for the cold mix cover stone caliche.
Yeah, now some of these,
Probably, Judge, we're probably gonna have to open every one of them
some of them
to
are not.
look in them, to see which one goes
Okay.
where.
And let me back up one step, and that is just for the sake of Sharon, before she gets mad at me. We're taking no action on the deposit.
Well, are we gonna move to appoint a committee, or
You don't move to appoint a committee, that's just appointed by the judge.
do I need to reference that?
If you, it's up to you, remember they're your minutes.
Okay. Okay, no action.
No action's
No
taken on
action.
that, and that will be, re-agended on April the 17th.
Okay, that's great.
So these are not gonna be in any particular order, Sharon, because we don't know what some of them are till we open them. So,
And I don't need, because they don't write on the envelope. So
so,
what item is that?
We don't know.
well, it's gonna be either under item,
That's what we're,
Seven.
that's what we're
Yeah,
saying.
but
It's gonna be A, B,
are we
C, or
doing
D?
A, B, C, and D?
that's what we don't really know till we
We're
get
gonna,
into it. Some of
we're
them have,
gonna open all of the bids.
and we'll have to sort them out later.
Right.
But some of them may have more than one thing on the same page, we're into
It's a
that too.
mess.
Okay, I open the first one.
We're not gonna make it too complicated.
First one is from Mobley Construction LLC.
Who?
Mobley Construction, Jeff Mobley. New, you want to do that, new paving and,
Well, I don't want you to read everything.
all right, well, he's,
What I
for
want
paving, he's talking $695 an
No,
hour.
no.
That one's-
We're only talking about,
Okay, we're gonna try to go back and do that.
Put that in the C file.
so we're gonna put this,
Paving.
this is gonna be in the pages.
Well, let's see, the only thing he has in here, the only thing
Mobley
he has in here, let me see, some of them have more than one.
Okay.
C file.
It's just paving and fog
That would
seal.
be nice if you put a C on it.
How about next year, we only do bids on, for one specific item for that day, and we can do them
I
every
don't know,
Monday.
that'd be confusing too, in its own way. This one is for paving only. So this is a paving bid.
For mine.
No, we're not gonna talk about, we're not gonna mention any names until we're on that item.
And there was a business card fellow. This one right here says on the outside it's for bulk hauling, so we're gonna assume this for bulk hauling. Number one is what? That's cleaching.
D file.
That's bulk hauling. This one says crushed cleaching. Here's one for crushed stone products, cold mix.
That's your A file.
Hold on to those.
C
No, this is this is the first one we're actually gonna discuss. This is from Diamond P Aggregates. And it is, so there is you a crushed stone and paving product bid.
Here's another one, crushed stone. Right?
So, you gonna read it out?
No, we're gonna get them all and do it in order.
Well, there's the envelope that came out, right? Probably.
This one's Asphalt Products,
This is a paving bid.
and that is,
Paving over here, we get paving to
yeah, that'd be for item C.
This is a check. This is not a bid. It says Brown County Environmental from a construction company. Check is made out
Well, no, just,
to Brown County, so I don't know what that is.
Let me see it.
So that wasn't a bid.
Well, that's how it was gave to us.
I understand.
who's on first and what's on second?
I think I opened.
Septic fees.
Asphalt Products. So that is,
There you go. It goes in the A stack, right?
This is a product,
paving,
asphalt product.
paving.
Yeah, this is the paving stack.
no, it'd be in C for paving.
Well, A and B, are they not the same thing?
No,
No,
let's just open them for now.
Oh, that's for
We're
plastic.
gonna get really confused here.
I'm already done.
Well, let's go through this every time. This one's for the blasting and crushing.
This is what.
That's item B.
This is crushing, so that's,
That's big.
That's B. B.
Coverstone and cold mix and patch and pave.
Okay, so that's under the products, that's under, correct?
Yeah,
yeah, it is. See, this is bulk compact. Yeah. Well, why did it get put? Why did it get put? Why is it not separated? But that's okay. No, I'm sorry to confuse you. You just keep going.
that's it.
That's the last one, and that was for.
Crushed stone. Okay. What's the, where are these?
That's a
things?
paving bid,
Crushed.
that's a crushed stone and coal mix, which I think you took it
And
from.
what is that?
That's a paving bid.
Okay. Yeah, that's everything y'all got?
That's it.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay, so it would appear, after all of that, that we have, 1, 2, we have 1, 2, 3. Yeah. That's,
Well, crushing, yeah, aggregate,
okay, so we have one that is, we've got two separate, one organization submitted 2 bids, one for blasting and crushing and one for construction material.
saying you go in the same category.
Does construction and material mean paving?
Ma'am, don't add any more confusion to this.
No, that'll be an A.
How would you like to scan them and type them? I need to know.
Well, we can line up, we can put whether exhibit A, B, C, or D, so that'll be A.
I won't say nothing else.
Next year, we'll just combine them all into one heading, that'll eliminate all this crud.
Vulcan and diamond.
Some,
They already have crushed stone, Vulcan should have crushed stone.
okay, that is, so that is blasting and crushing. That is blasting and crushing.
This is, that's what I just bought, it's already crushed.
Well, what's the heading say?
Like what the other one say.
The heading says blasting and crushing, but then the bid is for stone.
What's it other say? You got another one here. Okay, I see what you're saying. So that is blasting and crushing. So there you go. This is the one for the material.
Y'all still do that
Okay.
still got a pitch to do that in,
So you will consider that to be a
still do it?
Seal bed construction materials.
That's been cheaper.
Diamond P aggregates, 1.5 minus crushed flex base, bid $1.25 per yard.
Change, right, man?
Bid includes loading your trucks at our location, material weight approximately 1.3 per yard. You got 1-inch minus crushed base at a bid of $10.75 per yard. Bid includes loading your trucks at our location. Also available screened oversized 3-by-5 rock with a bid of $14 per yard. Bid includes loading trucks at our location. Diamond P. That's a much. Zach Perkins. Zach Perkins has grade 3 cover stone, $28 per yard. Did it say?
Ton probably.
Ton. Okay, grade 4 cover stone, $28 per ton. Grade 5 cover stone not available. Haven patch, which is a cold mix product, $110 per ton.
It's been nice.
And cold mix B and D is $90. Okay, that's the market. We have another material. Vulcan materials. I got pages here. Vulcan materials. These are brownwood. These first 4 are brownwood limestone. So A2 base. Quantity UM, 24 tons. But anyway, it's per unit, so it's A2 base is 820. Grade 3 is 39, grade 4 is 39, grade 5 is 21. Type D cold mix looks like it's 85. And then Uvalde cold mix, which is their, we've gotten that too. Their type 1 is 85, type 2 is 70, type 1 plus 69, type 2 plus 70, grade D plus is 71 a ton. So that's, that is your, those are our materials.
Grade 3 and 4, they want $24. What you call that? 39,
All right, so those were the item A for cold mix, crushed lychee and cover stone. So item B is the ones for blasting and crushing. I think we saw 2 different ones.
Yeah, they're
For blasting and crushing, Diamond P aggregates, 1.5 minus crushed flex base is $10.75 per yard. 1-inch minus crushed flex base is $11.25 per yard. So that's crushed
Oh, no, that's not bad for.
for crushing. That's blasting and crushing on your location. Okay, and you have another blasting and crushing somewhere on there?
I don't know. I don't know if this is Monday or Tuesday.
That's paving.
That's a paving bid. That's a paving bid. This is, paving bid.
Those are gonna be asphalt.
That's asphalt.
Maybe all we got.
Got 2 there. And so, I'm gonna do paper. That's the only crushing. That is the only crushing bid we have is from Diamond P aggregate.
Well, okay. So the one with the oil, is that gonna be under item? It should be under materials, which is not really listed here, but that would have to be under item A
Okay, so this is,
for the oil, for right asphalt.
right, and so you want to read this too?
Yeah, I wouldn't read those. Because of oil. Because those are gonna have to be under item A. It's not listed
I'm
out.
sorry, that goes with it.
Okay. Who is this one
When
from?
do these bids take, first April?
This is Ergon, and this is Right Asphalt.
Oh,
So from Ergon, we have
yeah, I think so.
AGP, 350 per gallon at the plant, 372 delivered for CR2S, 280 per gallon, 302 delivered, and for CSS1H, 285 per gallon at the plant, 307 delivered. So that was, like I said, that was from Ergon. And then from Right Asphalt, we have MC30, 385 at the plant, $4.02 basically delivered. MC800 TR is $3.15 at the plant, $3.34 delivered. MC3000 TR is $3.20 at the plant, $3.39 delivered. RC250 is $4 at the plant, $4.18 delivered. CSS1H is $2.50 at the plant, $2.69, basically $2.70 delivered. CRS2 is $2.50 at the plant, $2.68.9. It's delivered. CRS2P, which is polymer, $2.85 at the plant, $3.03 delivered. TR Fog is $2.85 at the plant, $3.04 delivered. So that was Right Asphalt. So those are all item A.
Copy.
Item B.
I'll come back in detail.
Okay. So that takes care of A and B.
So this is the
Now we're ready for
paving.
Paving. These are paving bids. We have Motley Construction. He's got it based at $695 per hour. Seal coating alternative, $695 an hour. And fog setting is $250 per hour. We start another pile here. Paving. Grider paving. Distributor, $250 an hour with operator. Chip spreader, $140 an hour with operator. Mat roller, $120 an hour with operator. And power broom, $100 an hour with operator. Loaders, $125 an hour with operator. Labor, $75 an hour for each employee, not operator. Pickup, $75 an hour each. I'm sure that's for traffic control. So you get to pick how much of this you want or need. If you want to load your own material or whatever. Price for turnkey option 1 is $0.85 per square yard. So 11,000. Brown County provides all traffic control. So I think it's almost for 85 cents a yard. We provide everything, traffic control and all, if I'm reading that right. Option 2 is Brown County provide material, traffic control, loader and roller at 66 per square yard.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, we can look at it all again. It's clear as mud. So
So,
for Martin Earthworks, $825 per hour. That's for all. That's county to furnish all the labor, not the emulsion and the driver. They don't have a price for seal coating. They have a $260 per hour for fog seal. That includes, correct, the paving bids.
Is that all of them?
Well, we got bulk hauling.
I didn't see any.
I thought we had
right up here,
I thought we got bulk hauling.
here's another stack.
Make sure we didn't miss anything in the stack there. Bulk hauling from Landfill Services Incorporated, $7.50 a loaded mile.
Where they at?
That's Diamond Peak. So that's their hauling. So there's that for Motley Construction, $150 per load or $110 per hour within the county. Outside longer haul be $5 per loaded mile on top of that. Bobtail, $125 per load or $90 per hour within the county. So that's item 4. Is there anything in there we missed you want?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make motion, individual motions. Oh, we're gonna-
I'm fixing that.
Okay, good.
Second,
If you-
Perfect. I was just wanting somebody to.
I move that we approve
Just a
items.
second. We're gonna let Sharon stop talking.
are you ready, Sharon?
I move we approve items A, B, C, and D under new business for all of the cold mix, paving, blasting, and bulk haul. Can I do that?
Yes.
Approve it all bids and orders. I'm gonna second that.
Second.
Accept all bids.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept all bids.
Shall I second?
Joel did.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve all the bids presented today. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There's none, so they're approved. Did you have a question?
No.
No, you raised your hand. You what?
I need the names for all of those, like the A's and B's and C's and D's, who submitted bids.
You'll get these bids in,
Well, we can sort them tomorrow and put them. A,
Yeah, they're
B, C,
in
D.
order, they're in order. We'll,
Okay, great.
So you got a paper clip and a piece of notepaper?
I do. Here's the paper.
It doesn't appear that there's anything else on the agenda for today. Is there anything that somebody thinks we missed? Doesn't appear to be. Then we're adjourned at 12:02.
That's just a summary page.
We need to meet Monday, Josie said.
This gives you background.
She said we need to meet
Item B was the,
Monday.
So we'll meet Monday, and then I'm gonna put on the agenda Monday, a calendar for the rest of the year, here's for the meeting days.
where's my black and correction?
So